Have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider.
Hi, welcome to Positive Momentum TV. I'm Diane Silva, and today my guest is Dana Camp. She is an intuitive numerologist, and I'm going to let Dana explain what that is.
I read people's energy. I read their frequency, their vibration. I calculate their numbers through their birthdays and their names, and it helps me understand who they are, why they incarnated, why they came here, what they chose to learn, their strengths, their challenges. It tells me your motivation, it tells me your attitude, it tells me how you feel on the inside that maybe somebody on the outside wouldn't see. It tells me how other people perceive you. Things that are hidden that kind of run in the background for people that are still influencing them. It's like looking at somebody's prescription lens for life and how they perceive the world and how the world would perceive them. So it really helps me help other people. I consider myself a perception coach because I help people understand not only how their perception is, but also how others might perceive them and how to help them make their challenges into strengths as well. So strengths and challenges, also certain frequencies and vibrations and life paths is what we call them, are those frequencies attract certain types of treatment and certain types of trauma. So things that someone might experience might be something that we've asked to experience. So before we come here and we decide to incarnate, we make those soul contracts with people and we decide what we want to learn, what we want to experience, how we want to impact, what do we want to do when we go to Earth and we're born, right? So that's really what numerology tells me is why did this person come here? What are they trying to achieve? What is the attitude that they're bringing to this? How are people going to perceive that? What are the strengths and challenges that they bring with these vibrations? When we honor each vibration in our chart, it's like looking through our personal lens. It's like our own personal way of looking at the world. So I help people understand that.
So basically, and help me if I'm understanding this correctly, if I get lost in whatever it is I'm doing, you're going to help me get back on track.
Yes.
That's basically
yes, and it's huge because at the free will level, like we make the plan and we come here and we kind of have an outline of what we came here to do. But the free will, in my opinion, comes from our opportunity to choose the frequency that we live these energies out through. So if we're choosing to live through the vibration of love, humility, patience, acceptance, understanding, compassion, and put self in front of every one of those. So having a strong foundation of self-love as well. That's a choice to come from that perspective. We also have the option to come from what we would consider lower vibrations, which would be through fear, which is so basics of fear would be the need to control outside of you, the need for approval from outside of you, or judgment, and that includes against yourself. So whenever we're coming from fear, we're choosing to come from more of a place of suffering. So it's always a choice how we live out our life.
So how would you help someone, okay, let's just say someone's living in fear and they really want to be the best self they can be. How would numerology and you be able to help them get to where they need to go?
Well, one, a lot of people come to me because they don't know why they're here, what they came here to do. They feel lost.
Okay.
When we do come here, we've got the minute we're born, we're immediately inundated with earth rules and programming.
Yep.
So let's say I'm talking to somebody who's struggling with control issues, right?
Okay.
They're upset, they can't control the world around them, and that's because they aren't able to control what's inside of them, right?
Okay.
When you don't feel in control inside, you try to control things outside, which inevitably always fails because when we set expectations, again, that's a fear thing, right? When we try to control outside of ourselves, we're creating an environment of fear. So we're trying to force things. We're out of flow. So being in flow would be coming from a place of self-love and discernment versus judgment and fear, right? If someone came to me and was feeling lost, first I would look at why they came here, the attitude they're living it out with. Are there any internal challenges between those vibrations themselves. And then we would go through and we would talk about, what are your strengths? How can you utilize your strengths? What are you here for? What is the positive that you came here to experience and bring? And then we would look at, okay, what are your challenges? What are the ways that you kind of slip into your fear? Every number or vibration has its higher and lower vibration. So anytime someone's coming from a place of being a victim or blaming and taking no responsibility for their life, they're coming from that fear. So first we were going to evaluate, okay, where are you in your vibration? Where is this person coming from? And I can tell that a lot from just by the way they're telling me their story, the words they choose, how their vibration, the intensity that they're coming across with. Are they speaking from a place of self-love or not? And that helps me help them. Really, when someone leaves my sessions, they will know by the time they leave that they are perfect, whole, and complete, that they are exactly who they came here to be, regardless of whether they're coming from a place of love or fear, because we are both. We came here for that experience. So a lot of people look at programming. Certain emotions we've been taught are bad.
Oh, God. All
Right?
emotions are bad in this country. Sorry, at least where I come from,
So
they're
when
all
people
bad.
think of shame or guilt or envy or jealousy, right? Like when you hear those things, people automatically are triggered and go, those are bad. But are they bad?
I don't think any emotion's bad.
They're not. But we're taught to suppress. We're taught not to show people all of ourselves. So when we feel polarized, when we feel like we have to put on a facade for other people, which is needing approval, which is fear again, right? What we've done is we're really just we're not accepting all of ourselves.
So, okay, that's one thing that I notice a lot of us have, and I'm going to use me as an example just because I'm here, you know, and one of the reasons we call this is Mirror Matters or Looking Through the Mirror is because I'm going to kind of be the education, you know, there's things I want to know, and I know there's other people who want to know this, and it's all about looking in the mirror and whoever's on the other side. So how do you get to self-love? And I guess, you know, you can say, I can, but how do you get there, and how? You
take those layers off. You take off the programming, you take off the earth rules, and you really, part of what my readings do, I love what I do, because I get to show that person who they really are. Those things, the way they felt, whether it's positive, whether they feel it's positive or negative, whether it's love or fear, that's still all part of who you are. And that's what I was going to say about the experiences and about the emotions. We came here to experience the full spectrum of emotion, not just the ones people on earth say are the ones that they want to see in you.
Right.
Right? So when we can get real honest with ourselves, self-love starts with self-acceptance.
That's something
And
hard.
self-acceptance starts with self-compassion. So when we can love ourselves, when we can accept ourselves, even in the times when we aren't feeling our best, say you're having a bad day and you just feel like grumpy at everybody, right? Instead of beating yourself up, why not just accept that, you know what, today is just a grumpy day and I'm just going to let myself feel it.
Okay.
And when you do that, being responsible for your feelings, right? Not letting them impact everyone else per se. So you can say, I'm having a rough day. I don't feel good today and I'm kind of grumpy. So I'm just letting everybody know, probably just kind of avoid me. So I mean, if I'm grumpy at home, I just go, ugh, just stay away from me today. Don't take anything I say personal. I'm just being a crab. But I'm not going to suppress it.
Okay.
Right? Because suppressing that's again fearing disapproval, right?
Okay.
We're still looking for approval. But instead of that, just accepting that, you know what, today I'm feeling bratty and I'm just going to be a brat today because that's how I feel. Allow yourself to have that. You came here to have it. So when we look at the experiences, allowing yourself to feel the full spectrum, that's the gift of humanity. To be able to feel everything, even in grief, from the greatest joy to the deepest sorrow, that's the gift. That's the gift. I can find gratitude in the deepest of sorrow. In the darkest of nights, I can still find gratitude because I have the capacity to feel it that deeply.
Okay. We're going to come back to that because I really want that to be a subject we address.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back with Dana on our next episode. Thank you very much. Hi, welcome back to Positive Momentum TV. We have Dana Camp, intuitive numerologist, and we are going to be talking about self-acceptance. Dana, we were just discussing how you can help people, with their journey, I guess is the best way to explain it. And one of the things you talked about is self-acceptance, and that's something that's near and dear to my heart because, I'm still trying to figure out how to accept myself, and without accepting us, it's hard to accept anything else.
Right.
So can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on how to find the self-acceptance, how to get there? It's all about, let's do this, but it's the how.
Yeah, and that's by accepting all of yourself, not just the pleasant parts. Like we're talking about the spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. If I can accept myself when I'm being bratty, if I can understand that me being bratty doesn't make me bad. If I can accept my whole self, there's a lot of freedom in that. Okay. There's a lot of freedom in that. We're so worried about what other people think, and really what other people are thinking about is themselves.
Right.
We're all worried. We're all in the same boat. We're all here trying to figure out who we are. We all have the same fears. But who are we here to be? What's the joy side of that, right? Like, what really turns someone's lights on? Like, for me, for example, I'm a Life Path 3, which is the communicator and the natural counselor. We are the joy bringers. We're lighthouses for other people. We tend to be incredibly optimistic. We tend to see the best in everyone, which can be one of our hugest tools in learning our lessons while we're here, experiencing that spectrum, right? I wouldn't even call it lessons. I would say it's just experiencing the spectrum. Because there is no good or bad. There just is.
Okay.
So when you can get to a place where your reaction isn't to label your situation or your emotion. Oh, it's bad to feel that way, or it's this is good, or this is bad. You can find it just is, right? And find joy in that. When we label, we limit ourselves. We label our emotions good or bad. We label experiences good or bad. When something happens that's not what we expected to happen, we might feel disappointed. Maybe we should sit with that and explore the disappointment and really look at, why was I disappointed? I had set an expectation outside of myself, right?
Yeah.
And that is where, so when you look at when you really look at someone's perception and the way they're choosing to see the world, if you can teach them to see it through the eyes of love instead of through their fear,
Okay.
then they can find more joy in their life. There's less suffering when you're in the flow. When you accept, you're in flow. When you're in resistance, you suffer, right? Mm-hmm. So when you accept yourself and you're in flow with yourself and you accept yourself and your inner voice isn't beating you up, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's.
Because I could beat myself up for feeling bratty.
Okay.
I could take responsibility for impacting everybody else and take all that responsibility on myself. But every single one of us is responsible for our own happiness, for our own state of mind. When we give our power away, when you let someone, I call it, when someone can trigger you emotionally into being in a negative emotional state, you've given your power away. You are the only one responsible. So if you've given your power away, then you need to go, oh, when someone triggers me, I go, wow, thank you. That's a gift. You are a great teacher. You are showing me where there's a hole in my boat. Now I know where I need to patch it. Now I know where I gave my power away. Now I know what I need to tighten up on myself, which isn't to say that I withdraw myself from life. It means that I set healthy boundaries for me, not for others, because I can't control other people, right? I set healthy boundaries for me. When I have healthy boundaries, I don't allow others to steal my joy. Because for someone to steal your joy, you have to give them the power over it.
They don't really steal it. You're basically giving it away.
You're giving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people start to change their perception about how they're seeing things, moving out of that victim mindset and moving into that responsible mindset. I'm taking responsibility for myself. I'm taking responsibility for my emotions and what I allow in my world, in my bubble, in my reality. So if somebody is a source of pain for you all the time, and you just can't seem to change them, because it's not your job to change them, right?
I don't know why.
Right. So it's about, well, how long are you going to allow that to keep happening? How long are you going to keep letting that happen? Because you are 50%, right? You have to own half of everything that happens to you, right? Because you've allowed it on some level. So it's about deciding and making that. So when people say, well, just be happy, well, make different choices. Make choices that put you in alignment with your joy.
Okay, and one of the things I found, and this is to do with relationships, and you're talking about, allowing people as well as, let's just leave it at there. I've heard that we don't need to have anyone in our life. We don't need that person, okay? So there's some people in our relationships, in our world, who are triggers, as you may call it, just by thinking of them, and they're very close, and it's hard to pull away from that relationship, or as the movie I like to call it, Hanging Up, where you disconnect, and it becomes, it shatters your world in a lot of ways. How would you, from your perspective, how would you work through something like that? I mean, this is on an individual basis, this is not carte blanche recipe to, hey, disconnect.
Right.
It's just, from what information I've given you, how would you help somebody heal from that, or at least work through that?
So a huge part of what I do with the intuitive numerology is relationships.
Okay.
Because I look at both people's charts side by side. And if they come to me as a couple, that's the greatest gift they could give each other. Because they're going to come in and I'm going to show them, this is who this person is. And this is who this person is. Acceptance, right? This is who they are. This is who you are. Is this in alignment with you? Because anybody can get along with anybody else.
Right.
It's a choice. But are you going to lose yourself in order to be with that person?
And a lot of people do, whether it's with your parent, your significant other, because they want so bad to belong and to be accepted.
Approval,
There
need
you
for
go.
approval, right?
Or they just want to, I need somebody.
And it's very human. Every single thing we're talking about, in no way, shape, or form do I even want to paint fear as a negative thing, honestly.
No.
Fear is necessary.
Yeah.
It gives us and aligns us with the experiences we need to have that full spectrum, right? So if we went back and we looked at the contracts, the soul contracts,
Right.
if you will, of these contracts we've made, where one person says, hey, I'm going to go to Earth and I want to experience forgiveness. I want to be forgiveness.
Right.
And the other person says, oh, okay. And this is something that I got from a child's book.
Oh.
This is The Little Soul in the Sun, and I do a class on this, on forgiveness, bridging healing through forgiveness, because this is such a huge part of it. When they say that you have to forgive yourself, right? It's more, it's like, so say these little souls are having this conversation and says, well, I want to be forgiveness, but you can't do it in heaven because there's nothing to forgive there, right? Well, they go to Earth and he says, well, I'm going to have to lower my vibration a lot in order to give you something to forgive.
Okay.
So, and why? The one little soul says, why would you do that? Because I love you that much. So when we all return to love, when we all return to energy and we return to source, think about that. No one here is your enemy. No one here is your enemy. Think about the contracts that you might have had. Maybe that person isn't meant to stay in your life forever. Maybe it's the suffering is caused by you not allowing them to go. By you not allowing. Maybe they came here to teach you self-love. Maybe they came here to help you set healthy boundaries. And they're going to keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you until you're so miserable that you don't have a choice but to choose yourself.
Right.
Because that's the self-love part, right? That's what it all comes back to, is I had to love myself enough to not allow it.
Yep. And that's where they're talking about, where was it? you will or you will not. You know, sometimes it's more powerful to say, I will not tolerate this anymore, than to say, I will do this. Because it's still putting yourself, and you, I guess from what you're saying, and this is what I'm feeling, is if you need to get out of the relationship, no matter who that relationship is with, whether it's with an employer, whether it's with a child, a spouse, a parent, a other relative, a friend, whatever, if it's detrimental to you, you're not doing them any favors.
And here's the thing, those people who are our core family here, those people who are those big teachers, right? They're the big dogs in your story. They did come here to challenge you. So when we think about our relationship with our parents,
Yep.
the first thing we have to do is take off our labels, right?
Yep.
Because that's where we start. We already are off in the wrong direction if we don't take the label of mom, dad, brother, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend. Pick a label, doesn't matter what it is. Take it off and say, that's a soul on a journey. That's a soul
love
on a
that.
journey.
Yes.
They're playing their part. Every one of us comes here for ourselves. This is a very selfish thing we do. We are here
Yes.
for ourselves. Every one of us. We're all trying to accomplish and honor our vibrations, what we came here to do. So when you look at that, yeah, some people come here with the nurturer vibration. They're natural mothers. They're natural caregivers. They typically pick parents who are not,
Wow.
because it gives them that polarity that they need. So when we're children, we have no power, right? When we're born, we're kids, we have no power.
Right. We're powerless.
But as adults, we have the power. We have the ability to have power. But when you think about trauma, even in an adult life, where does it all stem from? Something that happened to you as a child. So it's really about how do I get my power? How do I take my power? How do I cultivate and stand in my own power? Well, we have to balance and we have to take care of those childhood traumas, right? We have to figure out how to heal those programs that we've been programmed with. So we've got our labels for identities, and then we've got our programs, which is whatever your brain was fed up to the age of 8 years old becomes your default in life.
Oh my stars.
If you are told you are worthless, you are to be seen and not heard, you are, you don't get a vote, we don't value, you're not a value. Some people have been told they don't love them, that they wish they were never born. Think of these things these are core wounds that people are carrying around, and they carry over. And whether that person in our adult life says those exact things to us or not, our trauma, like PTSD, when something happens to us and we've had trauma, it's almost like it's our soul splits, right? People go through soul retrievals where pieces of us can't handle that kind of pain in our soul split. Well, when you figure out what that was that happened, that trauma, you can go back there and you can take that power back. But when you don't work on your soul, when you don't work on your spiritual healing, right, you can't get to the core of that. It's all about healing our childhood. Everything in our adult life is just a repeat, playing on repeat. It might show up differently with different characters, but it's repeating cycles. And the way the angels describe this to me is when you look at the spiral of life, right? Well, trauma will happen here, and then we'll work through it, and then it comes back in another way and it shows up again, and then we think we've worked on it. And people get really frustrated because they feel like the same people, everybody always hurts me, everybody always abandons me, and it's like that's like their repeat cycle, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not a flat surface. Mm-hmm. That spiral is an ascension. So as we go through these at different stages in our lives, we're actually ascending them. If we can heal that child, we can completely ascend that. And it's not that it won't keep happening, because we're going to keep attracting those lessons because that's the vibration we chose. But what we can do is we can grow through each one and go, I recognize that. That is something that I don't like and I don't allow anymore. And we transcend it faster and faster and faster, and pretty soon we just descend with it, right? But we have to find out what it is, what the core is, so that we can pull it out by the root or accept part of it, right? We've got to accept it so that we can continue to grow through it and not be traumatized by it. So all of us have things that we have to work through. Find out what that is, what that trigger is. Almost always, it's abandonment. Almost every other thing you can think of, if you look far enough back, it's abandonment. Betrayal, what's betrayal? Abandonment. If you look, when you start peeling the layers off of that trauma, you're going to find it's almost always abandonment.
Of some form or in some form or another.
And it's programming. What were we taught? What were we told? Who were we told we were? Peel those layers off to who you actually are. So as a child, 3s being joy bringers, a lot of times people with 3 life paths will have people in their life who try to put out their light, who try to extinguish them, who try to, I call it, people try to squish my happy. They've tried to squish my happy, like if I was singing and playing and running around as a kid, what are you doing? Sit down, be quiet, right? And then it's like, so as a communicator, which is what a 3 life path is, they tried to shut off my very purpose that I was here, so that as an adult, I could find myself, find my power. My power is in my communication. My power is my expression. My power is my optimism. So it's about finding it again. It's about, you want to know who you are? Get a reading, come find out who you are. Find out who you are. Embrace who you are. Embrace all aspects of yourself. Recognize your challenges. Use those challenges to become strengths, because once you know, that's half of everything, right?
Yes, I love it. Dana, you are awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for watching, and we'll have Dana's information at the end of the show. Thank you very much. Have a great day.